Hello everyone, and welcome to the Enhancing Productivity webinar from Revolution Group. My name is Molly Darrow, and I'm the Marketing Specialist for the Technology Services Division. For those of you who aren't familiar with Revolution Group, we are a technology consulting firm in Westerville, Ohio, specializing in managed IT services, Salesforce consulting services, and manufacturing ERP services. Our Technology Services Division offers small to medium-sized businesses a full line of managed service from 24/7 help desk support to project work, account management, and virtual CIOs. The Salesforce Services Division provides innovative Salesforce CRM consulting, implementation, and integration solutions that enhance sales and elevate customer service to maximize your ROI. Our comprehensive manufacturing ERP consulting services include system selection and implementation, optimization, and extended application development for disparate business system integrations. A few housekeeping items before we begin the webinar. This webinar will be recorded and available on our website at revolutiongroup.com. The recording will also be emailed to you at the completion of this webinar, along with a 2-minute survey letting us know if you enjoyed the webinar and topic. This webinar will be approximately 1 hour in length, and we will be answering questions at the end of each section. Please feel free to submit your questions into the section labeled Questions at any time. Now, to introduce our Enhancing Productivity webinar presenter, Heather Lemponen. Heather Lemponen is an industry expert with over 15 years of IT experience, strongly focused in server and network infrastructure. In her role at Revolution Group, Heather is the team lead for the Technology Services Customer Relations Department, which includes account managers, vCIOs, and procurement specialists. Among her many other specialties, Heather has a passion for process improvement, organization, and gating efficiencies. Her talent for making the hard seem easy is a great asset and one that will guide us on today's webinar. Heather?
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We will be looking at how we can enhance employee productivity through hardware, software, and best practices. Let's get started with hardware. First of all, dual monitors is probably the best asset you can add for your employees. It gives you more real estate. In today's world, people want more of everything. By implementing dual monitors, you can get double the desktop space or triple if the laptop is in play. This is a great benefit because you can have multiple applications open at once. Outlook on your laptop screen, Excel spreadsheet on the second screen, and a PDF on the third. You can offset the cost for the additional monitor because it does increase the cost per FTE slightly, but it's only about $180 for a good monitor. You will need to stay with business class. The business class has standards that you can move up, the stands that you can move up and down. You can allow the monitors to rotate, and it gives you higher quality options. I recommend getting the same brand and same size of monitors. This allows for better alignment, same display settings, and same resolution. Imagine the amount of time that you can save per FTE by allowing them to compare spreadsheets on one landscape. No more opening 4 files that you have to pop open and shut repeatedly just to copy a piece of data from each, or being able to compare 2 years' tax returns side by side. That is almost as good as having the old-fashioned paper method. If that isn't convincing enough, statistics show that people with more than one screen are 35% more productive. Setting up more than one can be a bit intimidating. There are a few key points to keep in mind. If you have new monitors with old desktops, you may need a special jumper cable to connect the types. Most PCs today have a DVI cable, which is the great big white end like you used to see the old blue VGA, and some have an HDMI port. This cable looks like an odd-shaped USB. If your PC or laptop does not have enough connections for dual monitors, You can buy an external video card for around $30. There is also flexibility in the setup for business class monitors. They can be left on the monitor stands, or you can mount them on arms above the desk and gain even more real estate. Yep, same theme, just more. It takes about 30 minutes for a beginner to set this up, or about 15 for an experienced IT person. Next, I want to talk about tablets. Tablets are becoming commonplace, but the term is thrown around loosely. Let's set a definition before we start. There are two types that typically confuse the issue. The tablet PC, or Slate tablet, is your most common. Apple's iPad, Microsoft Surface, Amazon Kindle Fire. Think flat device. You can get Bluetooth or Wi-Fi accessories like mice and keyboards, but the device itself is flat. The second type is a 2-in-1 hybrid, part laptop, part tablet. Available in MS Surface Pro 4, HP Spectre X2, and Dell XPS 12. You can flip the screen. Sometimes you can disconnect the keyboard. Remember that the features will drive the price. The most basic tablet can be as inexpensive as $100. If you want bigger screens, faster responses, better graphics, you'll pay more. Apple is an easy one to compare. For example, the Mini with the Wi-Fi and cellular is $399 for a 32 gig model. The largest iPad Pro with Wi-Fi and cellular is $1,029 for the 128 gig model. So as you can see, you really need to make sure you know why you want one before you buy one, as the features will vary per device and you could end up frustrated. So let's look at why you might want one. These are great devices for people that travel or go to lots of meetings. They are seamlessly fast. When you turn it on, it's on. There's nothing to wait for. They are constantly connected to Wi-Fi or data plans, so you don't typically have connection issues. You can connect in your hotel in a matter of seconds. They are great for checking and responding to email, taking notes at the office, syncing with apps like Evernote, and to update appointments. Now you may be asking, if it's so great, should I ditch my laptop? Not necessarily. These are not great for an office environment. Heavy users with applications that require a lot of processing power will be frustrated pretty quickly. They also do not typically connect by a cable to the network. They are meant to be wireless and free to move around. If you really want to make it work, you can buy an adapter to give you a network connection, but it is still not the best scenario. Then to get them set up with a screen and keyboard, you'll need to buy a USB docking station because the tablet does not usually have a way to connect your monitors and multiple USB devices. If you need business applications, you may run into issues as well, because when you try to install them on the tablet, you're not going to have enough processing power or hard drive space. I'm talking about applications like CAD, QuickBooks, and MS Office on the local version. Sometimes the operating system may not meet the software's basic requirements as well. Okay, then, so now if you don't need the tablet, what about your phone? Well, it depends. The tablet gives you more real estate, more screen. It may be easier to type on directly and has a larger resolution for bigger fonts. Your phone can connect to Bluetooth and keyboard to a Bluetooth keyboard, but you cannot use a mouse. The phone software doesn't recognize a mouse. Your phone can connect to the networks via VPN, but you can imagine trying to read your company memo, make corrections, and redistribute the columns of an inserted table from your phone. Yeah, right. As you can see, this is a very personal choice, so as long as you remember to ask yourself why, you should be able to make the right choice for you and your staff. Since we're talking mobile, let's talk about wireless keyboard and mouse. Let's talk about how they give you great freedom. No more wires, like Pinocchio. Think about it. When you're working and lifting the mouse to go to another section of the screen, how many times have you landed on the blasted cord? It's crazy. Another perk, it allows freedom from the desk. If the user has a laptop and doesn't have a wireless keyboard and mouse, they can grab a conference room with Wi-Fi, but they're forced to use the keyboard on the laptop. which can be frustrating and cumbersome when typing. You'll have a huge win with the staff if you invest a little on this time saver. So where can you get them? You can buy these anywhere. Walmart, Staples, computer stores, online, you know. Logitech is the top-rated and best-known brand. Microsoft also offers a good range. So what do they cost? You can get very basic models for around $30, or you can go with really nice, full-size, ergonomic styles for around $70. Sometimes we are asked if we have to have the same brand as your computer. They do not have to be the same brand, and most times they are not. You can have a Dell computer and a Logitech wireless keyboard and mouse. That may leave you wondering, how can they talk to each other? Wireless devices have a USB receiver that uses one of your USB ports. It is better to have a paired set of mouse and keyboard with one connector. Side note and key here, the keyboard and mouse require batteries. You need to know this. And once the batteries are installed, you still have to turn them on. No lights means no power. How does this help me gain time? Freedom! If you don't have to contend with the tail jumping all over the place and getting caught up on items on your desk, you have automatically saved time. You deal with this all the time, whether you realize it consciously or not. Same for the keyboard. Let's say you want to scoot back in your chair, but the IT folks have made your wires pretty and short, so now you're stuck in one position to use both keyboard and mouse. Don't forget you can take them with you with the laptop for presentations, which saves you time just by being able to use an external keyboard and mouse. Have you tried to present from a laptop keyboard? Final gain here is a little more money. You can really have nice keyboards that allow for auto hotkeys and shortcuts and run macros. And the really nice mice can have up to 12 buttons on them to do things like jump around in the web browser. The final hardware tip is a little more technical. It's called solid-state drives. Solid-state drives are all the rage in the industry. And again, let's define some terms before we get too far into this. So what is an SSD? It's an all-electronic storage device that you can put in a laptop or a desktop. In layman's terms, it's the same technology that your iPod, camera, and mobile device use. There are no moving parts. It retrieves the information you want really fast because of the design. Life expectancy is a lot longer than the hard drive. How is it different from the hard drive? The hard drive uses an ARM, which is a read-write head that writes on spinning disks or platters. I like to think of a record player in design. As the disks spin, the ARM reads or writes the data in open space on the platter. It has moving and breakable parts. It is a lot slower to get the information because of the design. Traditionally used in laptops, desktops, and servers, the life expectancy at peak performance is roughly 4 years. Where can you get the SSDs? You can purchase them like the hard drives at your local computer store, Micro Center, Best Buy, etc., or through the various computer suppliers like Dell or HP. If you have hard drives in your current work environment and want to switch to solid state, you will want to work with your IT group, as this will be a big process. It's like getting a brand new computer. Replacing the hard drive is like replacing the brain. So is it worth it? Usually. The cost of the drive has come down dramatically, and depending on the brand you go with, can be all over the board. For a Samsung, a small drive, 250 gig, is around $100. A large drive at 850 gig is around $350. If you have hardware that is more than 2 years old, I would save the money and wait to recycle the computer, assuming you are on a standard 4-year replacement. When the cycle is up, buy the new computer with a solid state to begin with. It is a lot cheaper than buying the drive independently. With a small investment, you can speed the time to turn your computer on, shut it down, and access data. Keep in mind, it will take approximately 5 hours to build the new machine, so that is a consideration if you have to have paid labor do the work, and remember the downtime for your employee. By the way, another little free tip here, it is a really good idea to always have at least one spare computer on hand for emergencies or for computer swaps. I recommend one spare minimum per 15 people.
Great. Thank you, Heather. We are going to take some questions on the hardware section now. Looks like some of you submitted a few. Our first question, Heather, I'm going to ask, can I use my personal tablet for work when I'm traveling for business?
You can. As I mentioned earlier, it's easy to check email. It's really easy to type up a Word document and send it off. It's really difficult in some situations to try to VPN into a company or to be able to do remote desktop.
Okay, great. And the second question, do you prefer wireless mice and keyboards that use USB dongles or that connect by Bluetooth?
Ah, that's a good question. Personally, I like the ones that use the dongle. It's a little more isolated and less problematic. When you use a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, sometimes it won't connect, and if the Bluetooth isn't on when you turn the computer on, the wireless keyboard and mouse will wait until you're into Windows before you can get to it. We have one client that ordered Bluetooth and Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, and then they dock their laptop. So when they turn their laptop on in the morning, they have to kind of reach underneath to use the keyboard to type in instead of the keyboard and mouse because of the Bluetooth situation.
Okay, great. That looks like all of the questions that we have for the hardware section. Are you ready to move on to software?
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, software tips. CRMs, customer relationship management tools. I'm pretty passionate about this one, so please bear with me if I get a little long-winded. The term CRM is used often, but what is it? The long name is Customer Relationship Management Tool, and it is common in most industries. It lets you manage all of your relationships with current or prospective clients. Do not be misled that this is just a sales tool. It is so much more than that. The specific software is more powerful than Outlook and more specific to the life cycle of client interactions. That is the R, relationship. All interactions are tracked across multiple departments from customer service, marketing, and sales to customer support and financial services with plugins added. So why do you want one? It gives a forward view of your business with dashboards that give you real-time information. It offers interactive, collaborative thinking. You can track touch points, link contacts together, see who's in your company that may have had interactions with them, send chat messages, track conversations, and so on. Think of an internal Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn combination that is very specific to your client base. Replicate best business practices with workflows. You can also manage risk management. All activity is shared here. It is not locked away on a desktop, thumb drive, or scattered in email. So if a person leaves, the next person coming in should be able to load and go. In other words, protect your intellectual property and start a new person or group without skipping a beat. Your customers see that you are well organized and have great communication because the new person is equal to the old. Customer intimacy is probably the biggest winner of CRM. It can capture detailed information about your customers and their behaviors and enable targeted marketing, product development, and sales activities. It can enable you to create the illusion of the personal touch with every interaction. Look at it this way. Do you really think that your dentist remembers your birthday, or do you think they have some software that maybe tells them that? CRM can provide customers with the impression that you understand their needs and their preferences in a scalable way. Choosing one can be difficult. It comes in many flavors and can be a bit overwhelming. The best path for success is to work with a consulting company that can find the right product for your needs. Since most CRMs are significant in cost in both time and resources, you really want to get it right on the front end. Some of the best known are Salesforce, Zoho, Microsoft Dynamics, and Nimble. We at Revolution Group use Salesforce, which is an excellent and customizable tool. When people ask us to find a CRM for them, we may compare up to 5 using a pros and cons style list that can show you what works best for your company and the way you do business. It sounds great, but how does this increase your productivity? Having workflows helps processes to keep moving forward. How many times have you sent a doc to the manager and the doc gets lost in the middle of the manager's week, never to be seen again? With a workflow, the CRM will do the work, follow up for you, and won't let you or your manager forget. It sends reminders, keeps track of who sent what and when. There is even an audit trail for if the CFO would like to know why his new widget hasn't arrived yet. He'll know exactly where the breakdown happened and be able to chime in and get it moving again. Think about how you do it today. In one instance for us, a workflow cut 4 steps out of our processes and sped up the completion time by 45%. That is impressive. It also is a single point of reference. This is probably my favorite reason to have a CRM. How many versions of a document have you had on the company phone list or email template for updates? Or better yet, how many people have a single person's contact in each of their personal Outlook contact lists? Having one place to look up all the info on a client, including employee phone numbers, is a huge time saver. In one instance, we had a client that had one person interacting with 4 different people at Revolution Group for different services. The client had a horrible situation and lost their building to a fire. They moved to a temporary space, then to a permanent. Each move created a new address. By the time it was done, the only one person at Rev Group had the correct contact info. The other 3 didn't have anything that matched. Having one place to look would have saved a lot of frustration and time for both the client and for Revolution. It also lets you know your clients, who they are, what they like, how they operate, and they're a huge part of customer service. The more you can log in the CRM, the more time you will save on multiple instances. You can track birthdays, special drink requests, types of emails, best marketing strategies for them, and so on. This not only helps the team serve the client and save time and give consistent information, it helps other people in the company if they need to reach out to a client for some one-off occasion. For instance, if the CEO decides he wants to take John out for lunch to talk about a new line of business, he can check the CRM to know that he should email instead of call, expect a 48-hour delayed response, and not to suggest seafood restaurants due to allergies. Efficient information without disturbing a soul to ask for background information. The only caveat I will explain here is the data put in must be a single authority, accurate, and maintained. If everyone doesn't go to and buy into the philosophy, your deployment will not meet expectations. The next tip actually is one that we use here at Revolution Group very heavily as well. The Livescribe pen and notebook. So what is it? This is a special pen that records conversations, and if you use it with the special notebook, it will record what you write. Livescribe works great in business environments. It's like having your own personal transcriptionist in every meeting that you have without the downtime of actually having to rewrite shorthand notes. The notes are saved on the pen as a PDF and has audio attached. Once you record the session, you can connect to your computer and upload the files. There is a management client that allows you to browse the library of recordings, rename them, or move them to some location on your network. When you review the file later, you open the PDF, select one of the topics you wrote on the paper, and the audio will jump to where you checked the box. It will start playing that part of the conversation. You can, of course, go from start to finish, rewind, fast forward, and listen to special pieces of it. You can purchase these online. There are many accessories, sizes of notebooks, covers to carry them, and pen refills. The price for the pen, it runs about $130 to $200. Notebooks are around $30, and the refills are around $10. How many of you have made notes on 10 different pads of paper, then had to remember what you wrote, let alone where you left the notepad? Then, when you try to remember the context of the conversation, the moment is gone. All of those issues are addressed by recording the conversation. It is great for reference, sharing context and content with coworkers, and picking up items that would have otherwise been missed. As a practical application, and as I mentioned, we use them for all of our account management, vCIO, sales, and marketing meetings. We have found that we can get back to the information quickly, reference context from other points of view, and share times in meetings that colleagues couldn't make it for some reason or another. Chat communication software is our third tip. Chat, or instant messenger, is real-time communication between two or more users. Familiar applications that you may know are GTalk or Facebook. Maybe it's someone that when you're browsing a web page and you're surfing, you can chat with a live person rather than call. The method is gaining popularity across the world. They even have programs now that can translate one language to another as you type it. Pretty slick. There are many free flavors out there, like GTalk from Google Hangouts and Yahoo Messenger and Spark, to name just a few of them. These are great in a pinch. They have the main functionality to allow two or more people to chat. However, they are very limited in what they can do, and there is little to no tracking for the company. This can get a company into trouble in a hurry. How? In one instance, a company had 2 employees that had 2 personal Gmail accounts. They knew of GTalk from their home experience. They decided to connect through their personal accounts on their work computer. It was great for productivity. They started telling their work friends, and before too long, 2/3 of the company had GTalk. So what's the harm? After some time of this, a disgruntled employee somehow found payroll information. They sent the payroll information over to their personal GTalk to their coworker. When the company found out, they could not prove any disclosure because GTalk interaction was tied to a personal account, and the person knew to not save their history on their work computer. Both employees were eventually terminated. That being said, if you want to implement this, you really want to get a paid version that gives you controls to record conversation, block ability to delete, and gives you a lot of great features like screen sharing, video chat, remote control, and the ability to send and receive files. Skype for Business, formerly Link, allows all of these features and more. It is a minimal $250 per person per month if you do it as a standalone application, or it is included if you are already on Office 365. Now that we know what it is and you want the paid version, let's look at why you want it at all. This is a great collaboration tool. You can now hold entire meetings from around the world in real time, like having a conversation in person. Also, allowing people to send a quick message saves a lot of dilly-dally. If they need to talk to Sally and ask if she's run the report from last week, they could send an email and wait. They could walk over, which typically turns into more than just that question, or you're stopped 5 times on the way back. And if you call on the phone, you don't know if she's there or not, so you have to leave a voicemail. With chat, you can see they are online and available or not. You can ask if they have a second, then ask your quick question and get back to what you were doing. This single transaction saved potentially 10 minutes times 2. Our final software tip is GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting is an external version of the internal chat instant messenger that we just spoke about. It allows you to collaborate with people from around the world without a single person leaving their office or needing to fly to a meeting location. This is a Citrix product and will need to be purchased through them directly or through a third-party reseller. Since it is a web-based and solely in the cloud, there is little setup in it, and it is easy for anyone to initiate a meeting. You can make the meeting a live video stream, an audio call only, or share screens for presentations, and so on. Depending on how much you will use it and how many users will be on the call, you have several options to choose from. This is a recurring monthly cost and starts as low as $0 for 3 users and up to $49 for 100 users. The advantage to this type of external software is that anyone can join the meeting, regardless of company, individual, browser type, or operating system. Again, you can imagine how much time and resources are saved if you can meet with Timmy in China while you are in New York. You do not lose the personal in-person touch, and you are able to read the room as if they are sitting next to you. All body language now included.
Great. Thank you, Heather. I see we have a lot of questions coming in. For the sake of time, we're going to answer the first 2 that came in. At the end of the webinar, we will send personal emails to anyone's question that we did not get to. Okay, Heather, so I love the idea. This is the first question. I love the idea of the Livescribe pens and notebooks. How does the Livescribe pen operate? Is it battery?
It does have a battery. You can charge it through a cable on your phone. I'm sorry, it doesn't have a battery. It's charged through a cable on your phone, kind of like your phone at home. When you plug it in, it charges up for a couple of hours, and it'll allow it to run for 6 to 7 hours. Typically, it holds a lot of data, so the only thing you have to really remember to do is upload the data after several meetings, because it will start overwriting itself.
Okay. And what are some ways, second question, what are some ways to ban personal chat from the workplace? Is there a way to police this?
Aha, that's a tricky question. Yes, you can block it. There are policies that we can put in place through Active Directory that will not allow the people to install certain software. This is probably a really wise idea, especially in the instance that I gave. That costs them quite a bit of personal security. So if we block it, you will be able to prevent situations like that from coming up. We can block other software as well if we wanted to. You just have to give us a list.
Great. We are going to now be moving on to our final section, which are processes and best practices.
All right, so we're coming to the end, and now we're talking about processes. This is probably another one that hits me very personally. Organizing your stuff is paramount to being efficient. You will want to have standardized filing systems in place before you get too far out of space. Accept and live by the rule that everything has a place. How many of you lose your keys daily? How many of you can't find that one thing that you have to use just to be able to get from here to there? This happens to me all the time. By having a designated place for supplies and other frequently used items that you actually use, you should always be able to quickly and easily locate things you're looking for. How do you accomplish this? Here we go. Clear the clutter. Throw out or recycle what doesn't work and donate what you don't need, don't want it, or don't use it. Keep everything eye level enough. If you use it often, keep it close. But if you only use it once in a while, store it in a high or low storage spot to open up the space between for the things that you use often. You can be creative and use shelving, wall baskets, wall-mounted file folders, and wall hooks as a great way to go vertical. Label, label, label. Labeling not only helps you stay better organized, it also helps others function more independently in your workspace. Find an easy-to-use label maker and start labeling. Special bins or folders is a huge time saver. I have a place for people to leave me mail, a place to keep meeting materials, and a pending folder. Our procurement uses this method and has proved to save a lot of time for him or the person stepping in when he's out on vacation. He has 4 folders: new orders, placed orders, waiting and pending, and ship confirmations. Why does this help? Any account manager can find the order the client is asking about, even if procurement is not available. The client doesn't have to wait to find out what the status is while we wait on him to return from vacation. Also, keep a notebook close by. It always gives you opportunity to be ready for an impromptu meeting or jot down thoughts as you're working throughout the day. Like the clearing the clutter, it frees your subconscious mind from thinking about that distracting task. You can deal with what you want when you need and now not worry about losing that new thing that just popped into your head. Final thought, don't leave the mess. Clean your area before you leave. It sets you up to be successful tomorrow. File it away, throw it away, straighten it up, and come in to a clean desk. At one particular workplace, our manager would come around every night to check our workspace. At the time, it was extremely annoying, especially for those that know me, but I think reinforcing that habit helped a lot from the processes and organization skills that I have today. We're going to hit on hardware again. As mentioned earlier, there are pieces of hardware that can be purchased to help people be more productive, but there's another side to hardware that is simply maintaining it. Most PCs and desktops have a life cycle of 4 years. Servers, 5 to 7 years, firewalls, 5 to 7 years, printers, 4 to 4 years, and so on. Getting behind on antiquated hardware can cause your users unnecessary frustrations. Software will become incompatible and pieces of the device will die. It can cost you more to try and fix it than to just replace it. Most vendors will put a life cycle on a device and not support it beyond this date. Always, always, always pay for the warranty. Having a user down for days or weeks because you don't have warranty to replace a hard drive or motherboard can really cost you a lot of money. The warranty is a very small fraction of the cost of doing business. Keep track of end of life. This goes back to planning. Know when the devices will be out of warranty or end of life, as it is paramount in keeping your people working. Replacing 1/4 of your PCs and desktops every year will allow all employees the same benefit of keeping current technology. As Gary Dyer puts it, we want you to happen to your network before it happens to you. Trying to keep that 12-year-old server going just one more year could cost you dearly in the end. Manage expectations. In our current tech society, the mentality is that all hardware should just work. You will need to be careful of what you are buying and what you intend to use it for. Buying a server with slower drives may save you money on the purchase, but how much will it cost you in productivity when you take 4 hours longer to process your millions of transactions? Not all printers work in every scenario. Look at wireless. If you are in a warehouse building and there is a few steel beams surrounded by cement blocks, your wireless connection is going to be very short range. The bottom line, know why you need your hardware that you are asking for, plan and budget to meet your users' needs. And while being budget conscious, don't cost yourself money by going the cheapest item. Let's talk a little more about software. Maintaining updates on the software is a huge time saver. I know that's hard to believe, but software vendors are constantly working to improve their product. They run multiple QA tests, pay people to break their software, and look for ways to save you an extra click. Keeping software up to date and on current versions can benefit you greatly in the performance and productivity. The updates will also address security threats that can be vital to your company. Password protection is a huge piece of this. This is a broad topic, so I will only touch on a few key points in the interest of time. Have a password policy. This is absolutely a must and best practice. Many companies are governed by some level of security authority, and they all require a password policy. Why? Statistics show that 78% of the incidents that involve leaked or compromised data came from an internal employee account. Passwords should be at a minimum 8 characters, require an uppercase and lowercase letter, at least one number, and one special character, and should not be a dictionary word, ever. Other items to consider are to require passwords on mobile devices, tablets, and phones, dual authentication, which is typically used for cloud-based software, like your bank or your credit card, or use a PIN instead of a password. Many software companies allow for 6-digit or 8-digit PINs now. To tell you how that complicates things for the crook, a 4-digit PIN has 10,000 possible combinations. 6 has 60,480. Another tip is to know if the software is compatible with your environment before you buy it, and it will save you many frustrations later. Although most software companies offer versions across multiple platforms, Microsoft, Apple, and Linux, like your phone, you have to make sure you're buying the right software package for your operating system. Apple software for the Mac will not run on Microsoft platform for Windows. You will also want to consider the compatibility between software vendors. If it is a web-based application, ask if it runs on all web browsers, like Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, etc. Another one that throws a curve is PDF. Many believe that they have to stick with a conglomerate and expensive Adobe, but there are many less expensive compatible versions of PDF creators and editors out there. You just have to test if the software that requires the PDF portion will work. Qt PDF, Foxit, Free and Pro, and Primo PDF, to name a few that I have used personally. What about free versus paid? As with most things, you get what you pay for in software. Typically, in the EULA, the End User License Agreement, it spells out that free software is restricted and meant for personal use. Oftentimes, you can pay penalties if you are caught using free software in business environments. Make sure you read the agreement before you install it. It is usually the long, legal mumbo-jumbo pop-up thing that you ignore and click yes when installing the software. Business environments should make the paid versions, the support contracts, part of their budget. There are many features that come with paid versions that can enhance experience and productivity for the worker, in the end offsetting your costs for the software in the first place. And our final topic is processes. Again, another passionate one, and hopefully not to run too terribly long. When's the last time you reviewed your processes? Most companies have some form of process in place. They want to make sure that they can measure progress and give people a sense of accomplishment. And what better way to do that than building a process? The failure is that once a process is in place, people just keep doing it that way because it was designed, and rather than reviewing it and changing it. Sometimes you have made so many processes and procedures that the manager is spending close to half their time following a procedure that could have been communicated faster by cutting the process in half. Processes should be reviewed annually. In a year's time, personnel has changed, literally or figuratively. Your company has changed its financial position, up or down, and more than likely, your industry has changed with it. That means what you have always done may not cut it tomorrow. So don't just follow along. Think outside the box. Make a change. Implement a software. Go to an industry-specific webinar and learn new ways to do old things. Ask new employees, what have they seen outside the four walls you live in? With processes, it is important to maintain consistency. Processes only work if all the people that it applies to uses it. If you find too many or even one person that has their own way to get it done, you've lost time and productivity. For example, in a team of 4, if one person doesn't put the files in the same format as the other 3, and that person leaves, be it vacation, changes jobs, or gets fired, the other 3 can't pick up where the person left off because there were not consistently followed procedures. You are left going with gaping holes and frustrated clients. A good way to know that processes are being followed is to monitor the people on your team. Audit their work. Are they following procedures that are critical to the survival of the department or not? If not, correct it before you are left wondering how this could have happened. Next, we're going to talk about flexibility. This is a dangerous word and a necessary evil. Although consistency is the key to success, sometimes you can't get around the corners enough and you are left with a square peg and a round hole. You have to allow for an exception to the rule. Notice the word exception. If you have 40 processes and you have 25 exceptions, you really don't have a process at all. If you have 5% or less of exceptions, you're in pretty good shape. As a fail-safe, have a guidelines on how to handle the one-offs. What do you do if you have to fall to the exception? If you have a series of questions that the person can answer, it may help get the gray back on track to a little more black and white. Final thought here is collaboration. This one's kind of fun. How many meetings do you have in a month's time? Meetings are great and necessary, but have you ever stopped to evaluate how many times you meet on a subject to come to one conclusion? How many times did your meetings end up causing more meetings? Or how many times have you had your most expensive resources sitting around a table to get an update that could have been handled by half the number? We need to collaborate to be successful, but we can do that with quick huddles, chat, CRM, and email. Have a scheduled 5-minute update huddle with your managers twice a week at the coffee machine. Our CEO, Rick Snyder, sent a meeting reduction challenge earlier this year. We came up with a grid that all managers and team leads reported how many recurring meetings they had, who was included in the meeting, and what subject of the meetings were. It was fascinating in the end that we were able to cut something like 90 hours collectively, yes, 90 hours collectively of meetings a month. We have changed how often we meet. The subject is very specific, with agendas that are shorter and with less people. The end result, we are more productive, more billable hours are available, and we actually collaborate more on projects now through a huddle mentality than we ever did with 10 people in a room trying to talk about it. So that's all I have for today. I believe we have another question and answer section quickly, and if you have any other additional questions or follow-ups, please make sure to listen to Molly for how to contact us. Thanks.
Thank you, Heather. It does not look like I am not seeing any questions for your best practices section. So this concludes our Enhancing Productivity webinar. Thank you for attending, and we hope you got valuable information on how to keep your company running smoothly and enhancing productivity. Like we mentioned before, we will be emailing you all with the rest of the responses for the questions that we did not get to. We apologize. Thank you for asking them. And look for an email from us. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.